So silence your cell phones, hold your applause, and tune into the truth.
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody.
Getting beat up by 9 guys in Syracuse, to me, there's not a whole lot of shame in.
From the 315 to the world, this is the Heel to Face podcast.
The cream of the crop! Wow, man, freaked out!
Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Heel to the Face.
I said, are you ready?
From Armory Square in downtown Syracuse, New York, let's send it now to Dustin, Brandon, and Jared.
Bad luck seems to be my middle name. They might as well tag me up with my buddies from Syracuse.
Heel to Face podcast is back for another week leading up to WWE Stomping Grounds. We are joined on the Heel to Face podcast as always with Brandon the Icebreaker Clements. You can find him on Twitter at Icebreaker21, myself at KRock Jared on Instagram and Twitter. But most importantly, on Twitter and Instagram, follow the show at Heel to the Face. We're leading into WWE Stomping Grounds this upcoming Sunday night on pay-per-view. I don't know too many people who are that excited about it, but either way, we're here to talk about it, the good, the bad, and the even worse. So let's get this show underway.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening.
So normally that's added with a 20-minute time limit, but I think we can bust through this week's show in probably about 15 minutes because, well, there's not a lot of great things to talk about. Brandon, what do you got for us?
Oh, man, some news and notes to hit. I've been reading the reports that Shane McMahon might be becoming the WWE champion once again.
I was reading that last week. I think we talked about it a little bit.
We talked about it a little bit last week. I do want to talk about it a little bit more. I know we saw the whole brawl with Shane and Roman Reigns this week. I'm not going to totally backtrack it. Like, I was pretty hot about it last week. I will say this. I could see Shane doing what Vince kind of did back in the Attitude Era where he was on TV all the time.
So, yeah, you have been reading, and I think you even brought to my attention WWE trying to do more attitude-like storylines. Yes. Is this what they meant by attitude-like storylines, authority figure? The
more I read, the more I'm thinking that's probably where they're going, where it was like, the
Vince
corporation.
Versus Austin, it's going to be Shane versus Roman?
It could be something like that. I mean, do I like it? No, I was obviously ticked off about it, but I think maybe that's their way of maybe pushing it back to Attitude Era. I still don't like it. I still think they're leaving some wrestlers out of the mix.
I think for the show, what we need to do is, so a couple years ago, Keith Olbermann, he used to have an MSNBC show, and every single night he would close the show with how many days since that time that George W. Bush, who was the current president at the time, was on that naval ship and had the big banner that said mission accomplished, aka the war was still going on, but had that big mission accomplished banner. And he said he would always end the show with 325 days since George Bush declared the war in Iraq over and mission accomplished. 965 days. So I think we should do that here while this authority angle is going on and find out exactly what day was it on Monday Night Raw where Vince, Triple H, and Stephanie all declared that the authority angles were over, that we were the authority, that's how that was going. So just remind you at home, it's been about, what was it, last year sometime?
Yes.
So what's it been about? 255 days since Triple H, Vince, and Stephanie announced that we are the authority. But back to talking about the authority and Shane McMahon, who really is the authority, we're finding out, and doing the exact angle of what we were told wasn't going to happen again. Didn't take too long before they obviously dropped that.
Yeah, so here's the thing that the angle that I've been reading about Shane McMahon is he would win the championship against Kofi Kingston. I think that's the choice that I've read. Not thrilled about it, but WWE, I guess they're maybe trying to do this Attitude Era thing again, which I love. The Attitude Era was my favorite time. That's what really got me into the business. But overall, I mean, if it's going to be something like this, I don't know how it's going to work. I mean, I guess you can put so much heat on Shane that maybe then you have a babyface like trying to go against the authority or the corporation, whatever you want to call it now. Maybe that's something you could do. But at this point, they're just not using enough of the stars that they should. I mean, NXT is the best thing going right now. And we've talked about this, a few times, but NXT is where it's at right now. Pay-per-view, I mean, there was a couple things this week that were nice. I want to touch on them real quick. Nothing related to Stomping Grounds for this particular story. You see the Gallows and Anderson, they lost to Usos in pretty, just a standard match. But if you caught the beginning before the match started, you saw a little segment between AJ Styles and those boys backstage just talking. I don't know what this means, but I think the loss is kind of a bigger thing than you think because it was just a regular match. I'm not saying it, but I'm kind of saying it. I would love to see a little maybe Bullet Club WWE version. Maybe this could give Gallus and Anderson a little bit of juice. I know I've read before online. I've done a lot of research on it. I don't think Gallus and Anderson really want to come back to WWE. So maybe this is WWE's last opportunity to give them something worth sticking around for another contract. I guess we'll see. Now, speaking of guys maybe leaving and guys that have left, Dean Ambrose, now Jon Moxley. After that podcast with Chris Jericho, WWE has come out and said, yeah, we're very open to letting people, letting other fellow wrestlers, pitch their storylines. I don't think that's really the case. I think
I think you're probably pretty open to letting them pitch their storylines, but again,
it's going to
Vince
get shot
McMahon
down.
has got the final say, and I think the idea is that they pitch their storylines. I was reading this week. They pitch their storylines to other writers, and then the other writers take it to the higher up, and the higher up say no go.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like Dean Ambrose, I mean, we talked in great length about the Jericho podcast with Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose, whatever you want to call him these days. He got shot down plenty of times, and him and Vince kind of butt heads, and obviously at the end he was like, yeah, screw it, I'm just gonna do whatever I want, pretty much. But I mean, I hope this works for like Gallows and Anderson, like going back to them. I hope maybe they can do something with these guys. They were one of the best tag teams around in the world. They were dominating Japan. They tore the house down every time they were in Japan, in New Japan Wrestling. So I'm hoping they do something with that. AJ Styles is kind of, I think right now, I think he's injured. So I think they're just kind of healing him up. I think that was kind of, to me, I mean, I might be misinterpreting it, but I think it could be planting the seeds to maybe a little club, reunion, so to speak. I would love to see it. I think it would be good for
I don't know
everybody.
if it's necessarily planting the seeds. I think WWE does a lot of things that are like tongue in cheek. They've done some things where we think there's going to be much bigger to them, but it doesn't end up being exactly that. I mean, I remember like Triple H, at the Monday Night Raw with Gallows and Anderson and Finn Balor, they all D-Generation X and the Bullet Club kind of did that little thing, but I mean, it was just like a one night only thing. And I feel WWE does a lot more of one night only things.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part, because the only thing really going at this point, like when you have like these factions, these like stables, so to speak, is the New Day. That's the only thing really going right now.
And I think the New Day's stale. I mean,
yeah, it is.
I'm just waiting. What is taking so long? Have Big E? I mean, we all expected Big E to turn on Kofi. What's taking so long on that?
Yeah, I think
Is it going to be Xavier Woods? Maybe that'll take us for a swerve. It's Xavier Woods turning on Kofi.
Yeah, I don't see Xavier Woods doing it. I honestly, if it's anybody, it's gonna be Big E. Costing Kofi the match, one of the upcoming title match, whatever it might be. I don't know what WWE's doing with that. I think they're riding the wave because the New Day is probably one of the few things that WWE fans like go to the shows for now. I mean they're entertaining, but it's at the same point for us, I think it's getting stale. I have not always been a big fan of them, but with the whole Kofi run lately, I've enjoyed it a little bit more than I did in the past. But I think you're right. I think it's running its course. They've been together for so long. It's time to shake things up and kind of break them apart. Now, speaking of shaking things up, I don't think the Superstar Shakeup is really any the Superstar Shakeup.
Well, I mean,
there's no show. It's no Raw or SmackDown anymore. There's no brands.
There is really no brands. I mean, this wild card thing has gone way out of proportion. Just drop the brands. Just drop. You're on this show. You're on that show. Everyone's on whatever show they feel like it. Even Apollo Crews is on the wrong show, because last week I saw he was on NXT. So
there's I don't like this whole wild card thing. I think it's just it's whack.
I think it was the idea of, well, the wild card thing I think was just a last minute. This is what happens when you make TV live every single week, and this isn't like South Park. This isn't like other sitcoms where you pitch a whole series of show months in advance. This is editing and creating things on the fly. And I think the wild card rule is essentially them realizing they wanted to drop the brand extension, and how do we do that with 1 hour to air? I mean, that's how things are. They're on the fly. I mean, you obviously heard the podcast about Owen Hart and Jim Ross. I mean, It was on the fly. Jim Ross was told in the headset, if you haven't heard, back in the day when he was calling Owen Hart's death, they said, after this, you're going to give an update on Owen Hart. And he says, well, I don't have an update on Owen Hart. They're like, oh, Jim Ross, by the way, he's dead. All right, we're going live in 5, 4, 3. I mean, that's how all television works, though. I mean, that's how this wild card thing worked. That's why we're here with what we have, because they're just patching things together, just making stuff up on the fly. It reminds me of, I think, the final Friday the 13th, the one Jason Goes to Hell. It was like after they've exhausted anything that made any sense in a stupid movie like that. Jason, if you've ever watched the movie, I'm a big horror movie buff. He dies at the very start of the movie, and you're like, well, What did they do for the next 90 minutes? They brought him back to life and had him die over and over again, but not really die because they were just they were like, oh, he's back to life as long as his heart goes into someone else. All right, so I just got to kill the person with the heart. You got it, except for you got to kill the person with the heart with a special sword. You're like, all right, I got the sword. I killed him. But you've got to be a blood relative of him and a descendant. All right, I did it. And that's what WWE's doing. It's like, we got this wild card rule. You got to let 3 people on. Well, what about this guy? Well, I mean 4. What about that guy? I mean 4 plus tag teams are separate. You know, it's just
tag teams are one. You know,
it's just making up the rules as you go.
And I think it's just poor booking. I think it's poor planning. I think the whole concept sucks. I mean, they just need to do the Raw and SmackDown. Like, you just show up when you show up. Like, you know, anybody could be anywhere at any time. I think that's the cool thing about it. I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, kind of going to another gimmick that's I felt like was kind of thrown together last minute. I felt like that 24/7 belt. Like, I mean, I feel like
to be honest with you, 24/7 belt is one of the it's not a long segment. It's just a short thing on WWE programming, but it is one of the more entertaining things. Drake Maverick, current the champion, dressed up as Carmella. But either way, I feel it's kind of entertaining. It's just that and Firefly Funhouse. I mean, keeping things fresh. I mean, have you seen? I was talking to somebody the Firefly Funhouse is a good example. Have you seen a promo for a guy's return last as long as this? I mean, normally you do 1 or 2 of these and he's on television the next week.
It's been forever.
It's been about 3 months.
Yeah.
If you go back to when we just saw the buzzard come out of the box and really no explanation, that was about 3 weeks before the actual Firefly Funhouse debuted.
Yep.
And then it's been about 6 or 7 weeks of the Firefly Funhouse. I mean, a lot of people thought he was going to be debuting Money in the Bank, and that's almost a month and a half ago.
Yeah, the Firefly Funhouse, that's a pretty good segment right now. I mean, that's the only thing really good. I mean, I will say this, another takeaway from this week's program, I would say, you know, SmackDown, Alexa Bliss and Bayley, that was a good segment. I thought that was, it was kind of stale going into Stomping Grounds. But it created a little bit of juice. I wouldn't say it was the greatest thing ever, but I think it created enough juice to, you know, make it hopefully bearable. The Stomping Grounds pay-per-view overall, I mean, we'll get to the card in a little bit, but...
Well, what do you make of the idea that Stomping Grounds, if you haven't heard, 2-for-1 ticket sales for Stomping Grounds? I've heard over 10,000 seats still available. Now, I know a lot of Raw, SmackDowns, they don't sell it entirely, but apparently this is of another level where they're having some hard time really getting some people in there, where they're going to have to do the WCW gimmick and just try to give away free tickets, give people $50, I don't know, to get them in the door to make that place look full.
Yeah, it's not good because... This whole ticket sale thing it's awful. I mean, then you see AEW
sells on 15 minutes.
15 minutes. I mean, in Chicago, Illinois, one of my friends was he got there, he was in line, and guess what? They said, "Sorry, we're sold out." I mean, that's tough. I mean, coming from, you know, Central New York to, to wait in line for tickets, and it was I mean, good for AEW. I mean, fantastic. I mean, you know how high I am on the product, so I can't.
Well, we're only one show in, but
I know. It's a small sample size, but when you watch the product, it's something that WWE fans, you know, they want stuff like that, because right now WWE is just very stale, and obviously, as you just said with the ticket sales, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. Where they got 2-for-1.
2-for-1 ticket sales at the pay-per-view. I personally don't understand it in general, because a lot of people are telling me it's about booking, but I've always been one that I've always bought my WWE tickets based on the fact that it is WWE. It's the brand. I've gone to NFL games even when my team is down or they don't have the best roster, because you're still getting that brand. I mean, let's be real. How many people are going to house shows based off the card? You don't even know the card when you go to house shows. I went to Raw a few weeks ago. I didn't know the card. I went to Raw because it was local. So if you live in the Tacoma, Seattle area, I really don't understand. WWE's coming to town and it's cheap enough and it's a pay-per-view.
Just go.
I've never not gone to a pay-per-view. Battleground came to Buffalo, and let me tell you, that was one of the worst pay-per-views I've ever seen. But it was in Buffalo. It was a pay-per-view. It was $25, $30. You know, why not?
Go.
Raw, SmackDown comes there.
Yeah. It's a night out.
If a pay-per-view came here, why would I not? I would go to a Raw. I'd go to a SmackDown. If it came to my town or it came to the next town over, I don't think I've ever not gone to a pay-per-view in Buffalo since I've been an adult of 2004, 2005.
There's not a, as a, I'm a sports fan, you're a sports fan. It's not like the Seattle Seahawks are playing. It's not like it's during like a Sunday where they're playing a big game.
Yeah, I don't. You know? And Seattle is such a big. I know Tacoma is a separate city, but it's only 30 minutes south of Seattle. I've been to both. They're suburbs of each other. So you're drawing up the Seattle population. I don't know what the problem is. I saw Daniel Bryan is going to be on the card. A lot of rumors he was going to be the guest referee, but they had to put him on the card, so you knew he was on the card to maybe sell some more tickets, because there was rumors he wasn't going to be on the card, but well, they need that ticket sales up, especially him being from the Washington area.
Yeah, it's ticket sales. I didn't know. I knew they were not good. I didn't know they were going to the point of 2 for 1. That's bad. I mean, we can go over the card right now. I mean, it's not.
Before
great.
we go over the card, one more last thing I want to take away. It was announced earlier that WWE is going to have an official award at the ESPY Awards on ESPN this year. At the ESPY Awards, it'll be Best WWE Moment of the Year. I know to people who are big sports buffs and hate the WWE, this has got to be a craw in their side because, I read it every time, whether it's Sports Illustrated, ESPN, on their Instagram pages, their Twitter pages, they report on WWE, look at this move or how about this attendance. And every time it's just full of comments of like, why are you reporting on this? I come here for sports. Why are we talking about, why don't you report on the ballet? So what do you think now? WWE's going to have an award at the ESPYs.
I think it's great. I love it.
My personal thing is, and this is not any disrespect to WWE or anybody who doesn't like WWE, but my big thing is to anybody who watches ESPN, who's a big sports buff, who doesn't like WWE, the ESPYs award especially, I'm sorry to tell you, the E in ESPN stands for entertainment. And to be honest, I can understand a little of your gripe, but in the year of 2019, where there's no such thing as regular news anymore, news is now entertainment. Everything is entertainment.
Yeah, exactly.
CNN is entertainment. Fox News is entertainment. So I'm sorry, ESPN, it's entertainment. Okay, so if you're somebody who reads Sports Illustrated because you want to get to the hard-hitting facts of sports, they give you what they can give you news-wise. But if you're somebody out here who's holding on to the last clutches of sport being legitimate and real and no added optimism look at Sports Talk Radio. What do you think Sports Talk Radio? We're in a radio station right now, right down the hall, there's Sports Talk Radio. It's on every day from 4 to 6, regardless of what happens. So if something doesn't happen in the world of sports, they got to make something up. They got to make a big deal out of something. They got to talk about something.
Make it entertaining.
So the point is, people out there who don't like wrestling and think that WWE and ESPN shouldn't have these partnerships and Triple H shouldn't be on Sports Center in the morning, they shouldn't be hyping up WrestleMania. Well, unfortunately, they wouldn't be doing it if they weren't making money. They wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't catching eyeballs. And sorry to say, but ESPN kind of rules the roost. So if you want to go get your sports news elsewhere, they probably tell you can do that because there's not really, there's lots of places to do it, but there's not really many TV stations. They've kind of, like the NFL, got a grip on that.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's entertainment. So if you are going to ESPN because you think that this is the Wall Street Journal of sports, I don't think it ever has been the Wall Street Journal of sports. So, if you watch old ESPN Classic, I think they have barrel racing on there sometimes.
Oh, there's
all sorts of nonsense from the 80s and 90s.
There's a lot of
random things. And the funny thing is, if you watch ESPN Classic, I did not know this. AWA, the Vern Gagne promotion from the 80s, used to be on ESPN and ESPN2 back in the 80s.
I did not know.
See,
that.
if you watch ESPN Classic, they have old AWA matches on there from the time when they were on ESPN. So
that's pretty cool.
You really got, in 2019, nothing to sneeze at when it comes to that. But moving on to Stomping Grounds, we can go through the card, which is WWE Super Showdown 2.0 at the Tacoma Dome. But don't let that fool you. It's just a regular-sized little arena with a dome-type shape. And Tacoma, Washington, which, to be honest with you, I don't think they've ever hosted a WWE pay-per-view. The only time I can remember them hosting a Raw was the Raw after WrestleMania 19 in Seattle. But other than that, I think it's a pretty dead land. I don't think they were supposed to get this pay-per-view. I believe San Diego was supposed to get the pay-per-view last Sunday, but because of the Saudi Arabia show being booked last minute and them realizing these two pay-per-views were too close together, they ended up scrapping the San Diego show and kind of giving it so it has a 2-week break instead of a 1-week break. Yep. So Tacoma, Washington, Sunday, again, you were supposed to have a house show. They were coming to town. They were supposed to have a house show because I think Raw is probably in Seattle on Monday night. So you were supposed to have the house show. Seattle was supposed to be the only one having the TV show that week.
Pay-per-view.
And you got a pay-per-view because you happen to have a house show on a Sunday. So, for what, $30? Come on now.
Come on, for the folks out in the great Northwest, get out there and support WWE. I know there's a lot of fans out there. Get out there. It's $20-$30. Heck, we would go to shows here for $20-$30. It's got the WWE
I went to
name
the
on it.
Great American Bash 2005. It ended up being a noteworthy show, but at the time, I saw the Heidenreich and Animal for the tag belts against Eminem.
Yep,
I did see Muhammad Hassan's last match. That was a highlight. I didn't know it was his last match. Instead, I just thought I was seeing Muhammad Hassan, local product from right in this area, of high school principal from down the street from where we're recording.
Yep.
But on top of that, that was nothing. those SmackDown pay-per-views back then, I'm not saying this pay-per-view is great, but I'm saying is the SmackDown pay-per-views from 2004, 2005, you could do worse. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
JBL is not your champion. That's all I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean JBL was a champ. He was a champion in like the worst time in WWE. In my
Yes.
opinion. So it's. I mean, everyone.
We're getting to a bad time right now. It feels like it, but it's not there yet.
That's
what I'm saying.
It's getting there. I mean, where do you want to start on this card?
We'll start right at the Cruiserweight Championship, which will probably be on the kickoff show. And there's been a lot of notes lately from people like Cedric Alexander and other cruiserweights that say WWE is not doing what they should with 205 Live. I mean, the perfect example is that these matches never make the main show. The match did make the main show at Money in the Bank. I'll give them credit for that.
Yep.
If they want to do something with this, they gotta do something with it. They gotta put it. They gotta make sure it's always on the main show, I guess. I mean, you wouldn't have had the Women's Revolution if you just if you didn't actually put them on. You can have all the people chanting, but if you just kept putting it on the kickoff show, it would have never took off. You got to actually put it in front of the eyeballs that people are watching. So you got to keep these shows on the main roster. You got to keep the cruiserweights on the main roster or the main show. Either way, but it's probably going to be on the kickoff show. We'll start there. Tony Nesi's the champ against Tawazawa and Drew Gulak. I'll be honest with you. This might as well be Ring of Honor. This might as well be some independent federation. I don't
follow it.
I don't follow 205 Live at all.
So I'm just going to go Tony Nese just because he's the champion. I'm just going to go with
Match
it.
made kind of last minute. I think it's not probably going to be might be on the kickoff show, but either way has no implications. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I mean, we didn't really want this to happen when they first got back together, but here they are.
Here we go
They're
again.
back.
Here we go. Good job, WWE. Great job.
Against,
Good job.
Against the New Day this upcoming Sunday night in a tag team match. I say the New Day is going to win because I just feel recently there's just been so many faces. From WrestleMania on, it's just been a face winning thing, except for obviously Brock Lesnar screwing with all of that. But everything else has been the faces winning. And if this is obviously a match that has no implications or anything, I don't see Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn because they don't know how to book heels properly.
No, and here's the thing. It's just going to be New Day. I mean, there's no other answer to the question. That's just how it goes. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm sick of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn being together. Like, let them go away for you. Like, let them go on opposite sides. Like let Sami Zayn do something totally different than Kevin Owens. Like, let's get him away for a while. Let's give people a break.
I was wondering where his gimmick was going. His new gimmick when he first came back to WWE and found out that it just turned into like him teaming up with Kevin Owens again. I mean,
yeah, here we go.
That whole idea of him hating the crowd and hating everybody. I thought that was unique. I was wondering where we're going with it. We didn't go anywhere with it. He's just a regular heel.
Per usual.
Yes. So we move on now. Daniel Bryan and Rowan, the Planet's tag team champs, taking on Heavy Machinery, a match made at the last minute to try to get Daniel Bryan in front of his home crowd.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Daniel Bryan and Rowan probably win this match.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't anywhere, if there is actually a story,
I just don't see Heavy Machinery winning even where it is. I feel like they're I'm not saying they're too new, but
I will say this.
I don't see them giving. I feel they want the belts on somebody legit like Daniel Bryan.
Heavy Machinery will be champions someday. And I don't think someday is this weekend. Plus, we're in the home
They've
state.
got to earn their stripes a little bit in WWE. On the main
I think
roster.
they're entertaining. I think they're good. I like their finishing move, the compactor. That's a cool move. It's different. But I mean, you're in Daniel Bryan's home state, and you got to get some sales. So I mean, what's better in the state of Washington than having Daniel Bryan?
I don't know
win?
if it's so much Daniel Bryan in his home state. I think more or less it's just the fact.
Well,
that
you got to have minute though. I mean,
you got to have him in it. But I'm just saying the winning, I think, is just because Heavy Machinery is a little too new, haven't earned their stripes. But somebody I think who's finally earned his stripes, we move on to the United States Championship. I see Ricochet defeating Samoa Joe and becoming the new United States Champion.
We agree again. I think Ricochet is one of the few bright spots on WWE programming at this point that's been, it's been fun. It's been.
They had the number one contender match for this, and it was kind of funny because Ricochet was somebody I felt that was not so much deserving, but I felt if anyone else won, it would have been a step down. For example, Braun Strowman. He is somebody who should be and has essentially been in the world title picture for the last couple of years. He is in and out of the world title picture, but either way, he's somebody who is been toying with the main event almost, on a frequent occasion. So obviously when he was in this match, I'm sitting there thinking, well, you can't have him win this.
No,
because
we knew he was.
A couple months ago, we thought he was a shoo-in for the main event at WrestleMania, and here he is going against Samoa Joe.
And plus, he had that stupid segment with Jost and the other guy.
So
that was awesome.
I think he's going down, but I kind of like that he lost because I feel that this would have actually been taking Braun Strowman further down if he would have ended up participating in this match.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is good for. I think the way they booked it on this end, we'll see how it goes on Sunday. But I think Ricochet is
a good spot for him.
Yeah, I hope he wins. I think he's going to win.
The women's championship match, SmackDown wise, Bayley the champion taking on Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss, we haven't seen too much of her. Obviously with WrestleMania, she was the host, but she's getting a championship match against Bayley. I see Bayley winning this, and I see Alexa Bliss probably starting a feud with her cohort there on her side. Was it Logan? Or
It's not Sarah Logan.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
yes, her coffee mate
Yes,
on the show, part of the Riot Squad there.
No, she's not on the Riot Squad.
What do I know then? What am I talking about?
Yeah, I call her. She's like the Scottish psychopath. She's from Scotland. She's not part of the of the Riot
she's
Squad.
in the SmackDown Riot Squad.
Yeah, she
was with Logan.
No, she wasn't.
He wasn't?
No,
Where are we off here? Come on.
No, she's not. She was not. Sarah Logan and Sarah Logan and Liv Morgan. They're not anywhere near TV right now because of.
Well, I know that, but I'm saying the idea of she was on the SmackDown version of what was on Raw. There was the Riot Squad, and the SmackDown version of that essentially with Sarah Duvall or
Sarah Logan.
Sarah Logan. Is this Sarah Logan?
No, it's not. It's Nikki Cross.
Nikki Cross. There we go.
I had to think,
she is the
about
SmackDown version of Sarah Logan. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
I think she's better than Sarah Logan.
But she's a SmackDown version of Sarah Logan in the sense that when they first came in, there was the 3 women on Raw, the 3 women on SmackDown, and they pretty much were identical. You had the pretty one, you had the crazy one, or you had the more redneck, rough around the edges one,
And the leader.
and then the leader.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
You had the 2 UFC MMA ones.
Here's what I would say about Nikki Cross. I think they've misused her already. They're not giving her any credibility where she's like Alexa Bliss's sidekick. I mean, what they should have done all along is they should have brought her up, Nikki Cross, with Sanity and had Sanity just, do what they're supposed to and be not like the Shield, so to speak, but like do Shield things and like kind of, be a cool group where she attacks, the women and then they attack, whoever the heck they want. I'm still waiting for that. I think Sanity has been the biggest letdown. You're not seeing any of these guys on TV anymore. So it's you see Eric Young. He's in the back auditioning for the referee job for Baron Corbin. That's how bad.
Eric Young. How about that? He looked a lot different than his Sanity days right there, I would say.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He looks totally different. I think they're not using him right. They're not using Nikki Cross
He looked
right.
like a white Apollo Crews.
I know, but yeah. I mean, Apollo Crews. What's he doing now? He's getting beat up.
To be honest with you, I think Apollo Crews, I've seen him down in NXT, and that's where he should be for a little bit to retool himself. Apollo Crews. I think there's a bunch of people, and I like seeing Apollo Crews down there. I like seeing Tyler Breeze doing a great job down there. So I think they need to do more of that, of retooling some of these people.
Yeah, retool, rebuild, get the WWE
Send Eric
universe
Young down there. You know what? Put Eric Young down there and put him in the world title picture down there with Adam Cole and the rest of them. I think that would be a much better spot.
Yeah, I think it would be too, because Eric Young is very talented. I think he's been very, very, very underutilized in WWE.
Somebody who probably, there's not many people out there who regret leaving Impact Wrestling, but I think maybe he regrets leaving.
Yeah, because he was in the picture all the time. I mean, Impact's Impact. I mean, it's not WWE obviously, but he was getting himself some airtime, some quality airtime. WWE uses him as they don't even use him, and half the time he's just out back, kind of just sitting back there as almost like a producer. He's not doing anything.
So that is for the SmackDown belt, Bayley versus Alexa Bliss, despite the fact that Alexa Bliss is a Raw superstar. Yeah. Raw Women's Championship, Becky Lynch versus Lacey Evans. These are 2 Raw superstars, right? Is Becky Lynch, what is she?
I don't even know anymore.
Because when the Superstar Shakeup happened, she had both belts.
I think I want to say she was SmackDown.
Yeah.
I want to say she was SmackDown, and then she won, then she got into the triple threat, beat Ronda, and won the Raw belt. So I would say she was SmackDown first, and then with everything.
Well, was she technically Raw? Because she was going after Ronda, who was the Raw champ. So I feel leading up to WrestleMania, her thing. Obviously, they added Charlotte to the mix, but her initial was just her versus Rousey.
This whole brand split thing. What is it now? I think
nonsense.
It's nothing. It's nonsense. It's ridiculous.
I think the Becky Lynch run continues because you're not going to take the belt off the female version of Stone Cold Steve Austin, especially at a time like this when you got nothing great going else for you.
Here's the thing, if Lacey wins, we riot. I guess that's what we'll stick with that. Becky Lynch is on fire, right? I just so to speak. She's always on fire. They're doing a lot of things with her right now. Like it's like the Stone Cold from back in the day, the female version. You got to keep the belt on her, keep her rolling. I like what she's doing right now.
Roman versus Drew. I think Drew's got to win this. I'm not picking him to win this. WWE is not smart enough, but I think Roman's going to win it. I would like to see Drew win this. They need to be pushing Drew a lot more. I think that is a universal decision or universal opinion amongst most people that they need to put the title on Drew. They need to put him in a picture that is legitimate. They're not doing enough with Drew.
I'm going to say this because of the events of like how Roman Reigns destroyed him this week on this week's program. I'm going to say Drew McIntyre wins. And I normally don't do that. I'm normally a Roman Reigns guy through and through, but I don't know. I just had this feeling that Drew McIntyre is going to win this. I mean, my feeling is maybe Shane gets involved. I mean,
what do you mean maybe?
Okay, he probably will. Okay.
The question is how is
he going to do it?
Yeah.
I think that's my thing. Is Shane's going to get involved, which sucks because it's not going to be if Drew wins, which is how I think he's going to win. It's not clean. He's going to win dirty, which sucks because it makes his character look less. And I want to see Drew McIntyre. We agree he needs to be a champion. It's 110%. He needs to be champion. He's got the look. He's got the attitude. He is like the perfect heel champion right now.
So we move on to the WWE Championship. Kofi Kingston, Dolph Ziggler in a steel cage. Again, I think Kofi's going to keep holding on to the belt until somebody legitimate comes along. It's not Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler is the idea of these in-your-house pay-per-view.
Wait, legitimate. I think Kofi's losing to Shane. What are you talking about?
Well,
is that legitimate?
That's not. I guess that is. I guess more. I guess maybe at a SummerSlam or something that happens.
It's more legitimate if he loses to Dolph than Shane. I think we all can agree on that.
Yes, but I feel that Dolph is just somebody. He's what these in-your-house in between big pay-per-views are made for. He's the hardcore Holly. What was he in 2005?
He kind of reminds me. This might be a bad analogy because my brain's a little foggy.
He's what Dolph Ziggler was himself. He was many years ago.
Mr. Kennedy.
Yeah,
Mr. Kennedy back in the day. I mean that's how he is, and I love Dolph Ziggler. I think he can go with the best of them. He's a hell of an in-ring competitor. He's great on the mic. But yeah, there's no way, and you heard it here. There's no way Dolph wins. Kofi is winning. There's no question.
This is if this was in 2007, it'd be Kofi Kingston versus Montel Vontavious Porter for the belt.
MVP.
Yeah, MVP. There you go. Okay. Universal Championship. Seth Rollins versus another one of those kind of what are they going to do with him kind of thing. To be honest with you, I think I'm not saying long term. I think they should put the belt this weekend on Baron Corbin. Have Seth. I'm not saying that he becomes the champion of champions.
Don't do that. That is a ratings killer.
Do you like it better with Seth Rollins as champion and Baron Corbin just having reasons to keep going against him, even though he's garbage?
I just want Baron Corbin to go away. How's that sound?
Well, I mean, he's not going to go away. So you're either going to have him as the not champion, complaining and bitching about things, or at least if he is champion, it gives him some sort of legitimacy.
Seth just needs to be the champion. I mean, that's just how it goes. I mean, Baron Corbin, he just needs to be relegated to, I don't know, maybe like a United States Intercontinental title picture. He does not need to get the airtime that he gets. I mean, he's getting more airtime than Finn Balor and guys like that. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
As of right now, are not even on the card.
Yeah. I mean, that's to me, that boggles my mind. Like Finn Balor, for example, come on. Like, that's awful. Baron Corbin, I used to be a fan of Baron Corbin, but this whole wearing the Applebee's outfit, being the corporate guy and then being who he is.
I like Baron Corbin if he can win if he can back it up. That's my problem with Baron Corbin. A lot of these guys, they hype him up and then they can't back him up. Bray Wyatt a couple years ago, the same thing. That's why I think Baron Corbin, listen, you need to keep things fresh. Seth Rollins had the belt for a few months now. It doesn't take away from his WrestleMania victory. I'm not saying he can't get the belt back, but Seth Rollins, I don't think is the equivalent of Becky Lynch. I don't think that is like when he became champion, it was like the crowning of a champion that's going to, this isn't the new Stone Cold. This isn't the new Rock. This isn't WrestleMania 21 when John Cena held the belt up and this is the start of a new era and Seth Rollins is the new face of WWE.
Baron Corbin as champion is as bad as Shane being champion.
Well, I mean, we had Jinder Mahal as champion. We had bad, but the thing is, I'm not saying it needs to last. I'm not saying this has to even go until SummerSlam or anything like that, but I think changing it up, Seth Rollins,
ratings killer,
losing to Baron Corbin this week. He'll get boos when he comes out on Monday Night Raw. He'll stand over everybody holding the belt as the show goes off the air and add some intrigue because now you got Seth Rollins chasing Baron Corbin. You got Brock Lesnar waiting in the picture. Is he going to attack Baron Corbin? Is he going to still go after Seth? Now, does he want Kofi?
Is that really what you want?
Do you want Seth Rollins to win the belt and Monday Night Raw to be like this pay-per-view never even happened?
Here's my thing.
This is the pay-per-view.
I want Rollins to win.
No title changes on this whole pay-per-view card?
I think so. No, we pick Ricochet.
Well, okay.
I think that's the most likely, turn.
Well, yeah. I mean, and at Money in the Bank, well, the most exciting thing we had is Bayley cashing in the Money in the Bank. So, I mean,
wait here, I got one for you. So, who is the special guest referee in the Baron Corbin match? Though they haven't announced it yet. Do you think Brock Lesnar shows up? What do you think?
Brock Lesnar, Bray Wyatt. I don't think Bray Wyatt. I think they're doing too much with Bray Wyatt right now. They're not putting him in storylines right now. He's kind of doing his own thing.
If Baron Corbin, if they work it out where Brock Lesnar is the special guest referee, I am okay with Baron Corbin winning the match and then Brock cashing it on him. I'm okay with that. I would rather see Brock at that point cash on Baron than I would on Seth Rollins.
I think if Brock Lesnar is a special guest referee, that definitely adds intrigue to the match.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing though. The problem is they haven't advertised that. So, ticket sales are so bad. As much as I don't like Brock Lesnar, he is a box office attraction. I hate to say that. So maybe, too bad they didn't announce that if they were going to go in that direction, help maybe boost the ticket sales a little bit.
Well, so he just said it right there, and that's how we're going to go off the show. Brandon the Iceberger Clements ends this week's show by telling us Brock Lesnar is money. Advertising that Brock Lesnar is going to be at the show is a way to bring up ticket sales and revenue. So I guess he is worth that $12 million they pay him because he's saying what could get people to come out to the Tacoma Dome this Sunday night for Stomping Grounds is Brock Lesnar.
It's better than Baron Corbin, okay?
Well, so he's saying Brock Lesnar is better than Baron Corbin. Brock Lesnar coming every once in a while is better than Baron Corbin there every week on Monday Night Raw. That's how we close things out. We'll talk Stomping Grounds, the rest of the pay-per-view, and the recap from it next week. We'll be joined by Dustin, but either way, we'll always be here with Brandon the Icebreaker Clements. You can find him at Icebreaker21, myself at K-Rock Jared, and most importantly, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Heel to the Face, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Until next week, Stomping Grounds and whatever the hell pay-per-view is coming up next. Extreme Rules, Summer Heatwave Tour, who the hell knows, and who cares? But more importantly, AEW's next pay-per-view is around the horizon, and I think that's really what you're focusing on, right?
Yes.
So we'll see you next week. AEW is coming, folks. It's coming, and we'll be back with more Heel to the Face podcast next week.